Welcome to Spurs Vision TV. Good evening to all you guys, right? All those in Asia, and of course, all those who just celebrated their Lunar New Year, right? And of course, good afternoon, all those in Europe, and of course, good morning to all you guys in North America, South America, and especially Canada, right? And of course, before we get on, right, the transfer window is over. We brought in two, we got rid of four. Let's see what happens from now, and let's bring on the guests. Hi guys.
Afternoon all.
Afternoon all.
Afternoon, good evening, and wherever you guys are. All right. So, transfer window's over. Ellie, you've got the link. Ellie, hop on if you have the time to. Right. We'll be glad to have you. Transfer window's over. Deadline is over. Everything is shut down now. Right. Unless we call anybody who's out of contract, we can still sign them. Right. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. But I don't think there are many prospects there, right? That's the best part. Guys, so 2 in, 4 out. Right. And who's got that chime going at the back? Right.
That would be my phone.
Oh, okay, that is.
I will mute it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It is super loud.
Yeah. And Kuva's in chats too, right? Okay. Before that, let's go through the chats. K Bean. I think K Bean must be Ben, if I'm not mistaken. Big up Ben. All right. Ellie. Big up Ellie.
I think it's Mr. K. K Bean.
K Bean is who?
Mr. K.
Oh, I don't think so. Mr. I got to check with Mr. K then. It could be. I got to check. Let's start a new channel. Right. Kuva. Big up to Kuva. Finish the show early today. Right, Kuva, your time. Hop on. Right. You have the link. Yeah. And we got to Prithvi too. Prithvi, if you have time, hop on. Maybe Prithvi's still job hunting. Prithvi's job hunting. Right. I'll go around the panel and just get your feelings on what happened during transfer window. Right. And of course, Mark Cousins. Mark, big up. And how do I get? Yeah, Mark, if you want to join us, right? I'm not sure how to get you the link. Maybe Kuva can send it to you, right? Mark, if you want to join us, all right? Okay, let's start with Shane. Shane, 2 in, 4 out. Are we weaker? Are we stronger? How do you feel?
I feel we're a little bit weaker. It's really only 3 out. Because there was no buy option for Brian Hill. He's tearing it up in Valencia already. So, it was, I give it about a 5 out of 10. So it was just an average window, but it does look like we got 2 ballers in. So I really like the look of Kulu or Kulusevski and Bentancur. Well, he had scored a goal for Uruguay the other day and had an assist as well, I believe. So he's supposed to be a defensive-minded central mid. So he'll be in that rotation of Skip, Winks, and Højbjerg. So we got a pretty good midfield 4 there. So yet again, we didn't get a backup striker. We didn't get hate that term, really do, backup striker. We didn't get a striker. We didn't get a cam, although I believe Kulusevski can play as a cam. And we didn't get a right back or a central defender.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay.
So that's
Ian.
just real quick roundup.
Yeah. Well, first of all, big up to the panel. Big up to everybody watching. Kulu, you know where I went. Kuva, you know where I went off to now because I left his show because I knew I was on this, and so I had to come. I'm probably with Shane on most of it. I think there's a lot of positives though. First of all, we got rid of a lot of, I won't call it dross because some of them are good players, but we got rid of players that were probably a malign influence in the dressing room, a malign influence on around the training ground, weren't doing anything when they came onto the field, and I think we're better off without them. Particularly when you look at Ndombele, who massive talent, but a waste of talent, has gone back to Lyon with the prospect of a 50-odd million euro buyback, which would be, I mean, to me, that would be absolute pennies from heaven if we could get anything like that back. Gil looks lightweight, and maybe he needs to be playing for Valencia for his confidence. I don't think it's bad, but I think the proof of this pudding, and I've been on with Rez before, who says, well, you don't judge a transfer window after it, you judge it contemporaneously. I think we've got to see what these players can do. I think Shane's hit a couple of nails on the head there. Bentancur's scored a cracking goal for Uruguay. I've not seen it, but I've heard about it, but I don't think he's going to score many goals, and I don't think that's what he's going to be in the team for. Kulu, I do see as the CAM, though, the central attacking midfield player. I do see him as the natural 10, and I suspect we might be playing more 3-5-2 with the players that we've brought in. Yeah, it's a shame there weren't others that we could have brought in the positions that we were hoping, but we all know, I've said this on broadcast before, we all know how difficult it is to get the kind of players in January. And none of the players we were really looking at, I think, seriously, have gone elsewhere. And I would much rather we waited till the summer and got in the players that the director of football and the coach wants than blew a lot of money in this window with more mediocrity that we end up having to move out. We've done that too often in too many windows. So 5 out of 10 probably fair, but hopefully on reflection it will be better.
Johnny? Eric Dyer.
I've shaved my head off, you see. I had like hair down to here, and I've done an Eric Dyer, so
okay.
it's in relation to the hair. I'm not going to be running off to the toilet anytime soon.
All right.
As Ian said, the problem I've got with pushing everything forward to the summer is they fucked up a couple of deals, didn't they, for the targets we wanted in January? So have you got any confidence in them actually getting the deals for the players we want in the summer over the line in view of the fact that they didn't get a couple of their targets over the line, which they wanted in January? That's my only reservation with pushing it all through to the summer, because you're going to have the same issues with people gazumping us and outbidding us and stuff. So if there was any guarantee that we would get our targets we wanted in the summer, I think we'd all be quite patient to wait, wouldn't we? But in view of what happened with Traoré and Diaz that went to Liverpool, are we confident that they'll get those deals across the line in the summer? It's the same situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Ian and Shane, though. I think the way Conte doesn't really play with a cam, does he? So, unless he plays 3-5-2, which I think Kula Hoop or Moura can play that number 10 role behind Kane and Son, can't they, if we do that? So I think he's got cover there. My only reservation with the window is that we didn't strengthen that right-hand side, did we? So teams can just show us down the right-hand side. That's what I'm a bit worried about. So we're reliant on Doherty playing well, aren't we? And Royale learning how to cross, the only Brazilian in the history of the game who can't cross a football. So I think teams will just show us down that right, won't they? They'll block us. They'll try and block us off in the left, in the middle, and show us down that right-hand side. Like even Watford did it to us, didn't they? Just kept letting Royal have the ball and didn't do anything with it.
I don't know. We're in extra 2 weeks of practice with Conte.
Yeah.
Maybe Royal will have some results from there.
Well, he got sent off after about 10 minutes for Brazil, didn't he? So he's not going to be tired, is he?
Oh, he did, right? Okay.
Yeah, he got two yellow cards in about the first 10 minutes.
Maybe it's all in the plans. It's all in the plan. Yeah. And Guguma, how do you feel about our transfer window?
I think Paratici did a good job because, I mean, even though we didn't get the striker, the cam, or the right wing back, I feel like the number of players that he got to leave is like a really big deal because if there is going to be, if we're going to make the squad in the image of what Conte envisions, then it's really important to have people who have the same mindset and players who Conte can trust. And so I don't think it was an easy thing to get those players to leave. And also in terms of incoming, Kulusevski and Betancourt, from what I've heard and what I've been like seeing through the news and like YouTube and stuff, I feel like they'll give us more options in the middle. So yeah, I think he did a good job.
That's good.
You got to remember that famous video of him as well, where he said he'd rather kill someone rather if they're not pulling their weight and working for the team. So I get the impression that it was quite important to get rid of those players, get them away from the group, so he can mould the team in his own image.
That's true. That's true. And Sean, having his debut with us today. Sean, let's get some history from you first before we get your opinion on the transfer window.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you all of you for having me on. It's a great pleasure to have making my debut on your channel. I watch it all the time, so do very much appreciate it. In terms of my background, I live in London. Well, actually, I live in Surrey, southwest London, but apart from the last sort of 6 years when I was away in America working for Google and Australia before that, I was an investment banker. So I have a bit of financial background. Spent 13 years in that game. And so that's a lot of the opinions that I have when it comes to things like the Levy in-out debate. My opinions are kind of more shaped around, I guess, a bit more kind of pragmatic. And I look through, it sounds so dull to say this, but I actually enjoy looking through financial forecasts and figures and trying to pick the peanuts out of the poo and see, what is realistic, what isn't realistic. And so, if any of you or anyone in the comments has seen me on different shows, you'll probably consider me a Levy in, but I'm not really a Levy in. I'm just kind of more of I get worried sometimes by the Levy out narrative, and sometimes I don't know if it necessarily considers all of the variables and the nuance that, like I say, that I look to when I think about auditing whether someone's done a good job or a bad job. But I certainly not just my opinions go far further than just Daniel Levy. I do enjoy. I've been a season ticket holder since I was I think 7 years old. So the '92 season was my first introduction to Tottenham. So and that's the other thing. I think that when I come to my opinions on Tottenham, I try to zoom out and consider where we were, or at least where we were from when I started watching Tottenham. And I see generally progress, in our performances, in the way that we carry ourselves, and so I like to be a bit more, or a bit less short-sighted, and try and consider, like I say, the bigger picture. But yeah, that's kind of my history. Yeah, so I hope that was short.
That's
sweet
good.
enough.
That's good. Yeah, and of course,
so where were you based in Australia?
Melbourne.
So you lived in Melbourne. I'm in Brisbane.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been up there many times. It's a beautiful. Well, all of Australia is beautiful. So I'm very
bit
jealous.
bloody hot at the moment, but yeah.
You Jim, for the first time, I don't feel quite so isolated as a non. I'm not a Levy in either, but as a non, Levy out man on these shows. Sometimes it gets a little bit lonely in this corner, but
yeah. And you find yourself defending your corner, don't you?
No, tell me. But I look at the numbers too, and we want more investment in the team. People always want more investment in the team, but until someone's going to come along with £3 billion or whatever they want for it, it's ultimately up to them what they sell it for. With who in my view, as I've said, got to have the right moral compass. I do not want people like the Saudi Arabian bone crushers running my club. It's just my own where I come from morally.
100% agree. 100% agree.
And
you have to have a line in the sand, don't you, at some point?
Yeah, well, that's where my
of
line
course.
in the sand is, and I don't see. People talk about rich Arab sheikhs and things like that. Well, there's probably an issue with them, investing in a club which has a tradition, rightly or wrongly, as being a Jewish club anyway. But someone's got to come in with the right people, with the right money to invest in the right way. I'm hoping that with the numbers, Sean will be a better speaker about this than me, but the numbers should be adding up for significantly more income, which hopefully will be invested in the team, which will see us succeed.
But before that, let me put out a message. Wayne, please go and read your WhatsApp DM. I've just sent you some messages. If you can, just reply back to me. And of course, Sean, your feelings on the transfer window.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with Ian. I think that you shouldn't. Obviously, everyone has to have their gut feeling and reaction, their marks out of 10 for what we've seen. I'm no different. I'd say it's a 7.5, and I'll explain why. But I do think time will tell. I think you should always look back with the benefit of hindsight and see, well, what happened. And I think that, ultimately our January window will be judged more on where we finish. Do we finish top 4 or don't we? And if we finish in the top 4, then a lot of the concerns that we had around why didn't we sign certain players, could we offer them what the big players wanted? Well, then, there'll be no excuse in the summer. If we can offer them Champions League, then, it's over to Paratici and Levy to kind of put their money where their mouth is. But I also think that, regardless of what signings are in or out, you have to factor in that, generally speaking, it's injuries that will determine more of the teams around us and our own fortunes. You could sign 3 players, not let anyone leave, and then if Harry Kane, Sonny, and Romero, for example, or God forbid Hugo Lloris has a long-term injury against Brighton, then all bets are off, and it doesn't matter what Kulusevski does or what Bentancur does. We're in a pickle. Now, obviously, the higher quality you have in depth can manage that risk a little bit, but Rome wasn't built in a day. I do think, to everyone's point, getting rid of the toxicity was key. I also think getting rid of Hitchin yesterday is a wonderful thing. There's less. The idea of too many cooks spoil the broth comes to mind with Levy wanting his finger over the button. So did Hitchin. So did Paratici, and Conte wants his stuff as well. It's too much. So I think sometimes if you let one person or 2 people work together and figure things out, and I think Daniel Levy looks like for the first time, at least when you look at the Dele Alli deal, that deal is so complex in its structure, but so obviously not a traditional Daniel Levy kind of construct to it, that I hope it's the first time that Daniel Levy has shown that he's willing to step back and allow Paratici to kind of control the things. Other things I would say about the January window, I do think that getting players out now, even though we're a little bit threadbare in the midfield, I do think it's going to be easier to bring players in the summer if there is those deals that they want to get done with regard the out of contracts, the Bosman rulings, because we now have a squad of 23 players or 22 players, so we don't have to get people out before we get people in. So that's a positive as long as we can stay injury free. And I think that the players we've got in, like for me, Kulusevski, he was my first choice. Back in November, I was saying he's got to be the guy we go to. He's probably not going to be first choice for a lot of our clubs that we're competing with. He's someone we could get. And I think he's a future Kevin De Bruyne. He reminds me, not just in looks, but in stature and quality. The weight of his pass is as good as his direction. He's two-footed. He's strong. He's tall. Everything about him excites me. And I feel like in him, we have someone that can take us to the next level. And the last thing I'd say is that I think that what's going to be interesting is that now that we've got rid of so many midfielders, and if you look at the kind of positions on paper, it's going to be. I personally think unless he's got intentions of playing a number 10 and Kulusevski playing a 10 in the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-1-2 formation, I actually think we might see more 3-4-3 and have a Kulusevski, Kane, Son front line, and then have 2 of the 4 midfielders in Skip, Winks, Bentancur and Højbjerg, kind of just mixing and matching and see whichever combinations work there. I do agree with Johnny that we are still weak down the right hand side. But like I say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and January is a very difficult window to get everything done. But overall, when I factor all of that stuff in short, I think it's a 7.5 out of 10, and then we'll see what happens as we go forward. Sorry,
welcome, Arthur.
That was a rant. Sorry.
No, it wasn't a rant.
That's
You know,
all
my
good.
shows. It's all good. It's all good.
Hi,
Right.
Arthur.
Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Arthur, you right?
Everybody. Yep.
Yeah. Arthur's been busy, right? Tax season just finished, so he's got a bit more time now to come on the shows, right, Arthur? Right, and of course, Arthur. Guys, just bear with me. I have to. It's Chinese New Year here, right? There are a lot of fireworks and crackers going around. So
Set your car alarm, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Someone's car alarm has gone off, right? But before I put myself on mute, Arthur, your view on the transfer window, how do you see it?
Between 6 and 7.5. There's only 2 players we've got in. Notoriously, the January transfer window is pretty useless overall. I'm there already gearing myself up for the summer transfer window. Let's see what happens there. And if it doesn't happen, well, I'm going to be joining the other side and try and get Levy out. Because it's just ridiculous. We can't carry on like this. 2 players in, we've got rid of some dross, and I would say when I use the word dross, I mean dressing room people that cause problems, rumours, nasty things. We're getting them out the door. That's great. But now we need to see a proper spend. When I proper spend, I'm not talking billions of pounds. I'm talking about getting the right players for the right position and make this bloody club work. It's ridiculous that we spent 21 years and one little tin pot. It's crazy. I know what Levy told me face to face. And you can ask anybody. I'm a very blunt, straightforward guy. I don't tell lies. And I remember his words today, what he said. And he said, we are fans like you are, and we are going to get this club back to where it should be, winning cups, and we can win the league. 21 years on, we've won 1 tin pot and nothing else. Now we're clearing out the dross. Hopefully we're making way for some good buys. That's the way I see it. I'm not happy about what happened, but I think we've got 2 pretty good players in. So I'm waiting to see them in action. And so I'm going to reserve
on Sunday. Hopefully on Sunday we'll get to see Kulu.
Yeah, but will he play? Will he be brave enough to put them in straight off, or will he let them get adjusted? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not Bentancur. He won't play. I don't even think he'll get his work permit through in
No,
time to play.
no.
So
Yeah. No, I think he has to go through a lot of COVID protocols before he gets near the stadium, hospital way or something, right, for Bentancur. Right.
He's just coming back from Uruguay. He must be almost in London by now. They played yesterday against Venezuela. So I don't know. Is Uruguay a red list country?
Just want to say, Shane, lovely goal by Bentancur.
Yep.
It was.
It was a cracker.
He got an assist too, I got told.
Yep.
That was his first goal in 49 appearances, though, so we shouldn't really expect him to go from him, I don't think.
He's going to be guided. He's going to be guided by the Messiah, Mr. Conte.
Yeah.
Wait. Nick. Now Ian's wearing red. What's going on?
I'm a spy, Nick. I'm a spy, didn't you know? I was meant to be playing golf today, but it's wet and windy and what have you. And it's my club golf shirt underneath. Yeah. So one of my club golf shirts.
He's undercover, guys, but it didn't work.
yeah.
Sure, it's like that every day in Scotland now, Ian, isn't it, really? You've got to expect some level of rain most days up in Scotland.
Tell me about it.
But one thing, guys, I'm very happy that the goal went in right before after we signed him. If the goal went in before we signed him, it would cost another 5 million quid to sign him.
5 million on top.
Oh dear. But before we continue, right? Tom is 40 live, right? Tom, if you want to hop on, I'll throw the link into the chats, right? Tom is actually an MU fan, and he's a very nice guy. He has a lot of good input, right? Especially without MU not signing anybody, and he gives a lot of. He's asked a question for the panel, right? Will the new signings help change the mentality alongside Conte for the remaining games to the season and going into the new season, right? And shall we just try to answer the question then? What do you guys think?
Do you want to go around?
Yeah, we'll go around. We'll start with let's start with Shane.
It's. I think it's too early to tell, because we all know there's a betting in period, so it really depends on how they bet in, how quickly they get up to speed. If they get up to speed quickly enough, they probably will make a difference. If not, we're going to have to do some major surgery in the summer transfer window, which I don't think Levy will give Conte a war chest, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I've answered the question properly, but
Okay, let's see.
He's kind of got to though, Shane, hasn't he? Because he's persuaded Sonny to sign a long-term contract. He's persuaded Hugo to sign a new contract. He's persuaded Conte to come. He can't then back out of it completely, can he? So he's kind of got to put up or shut up in the summer.
That's true. And Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the
Tom's
summer.
question.
I think we're all talking about the summer, and my barometer was one, what we do in the summer, and secondly that Conte feels we're doing enough to stay. Well, I'll touch wood and say I hope that Levy understands from his own point of view the importance for a lot of us who are relatively neutral on the ownership, that he delivers for the best, at least on paper, the best coach we've ever employed. And I take Birkinshaw and Nicholson when they came. Neither of them had been employed as a manager or a head coach before. Sure, but right, I'll let them come back to that. In terms of the mentality, I think that's really, really important, because I think what's crucial is, as I said earlier, the malign influences, I think, are out of the dressing room largely, and Conte will not tolerate that kind of thing. So I'm hoping he knows these players from Juve, Paratici knows these players from Juve, that he knows that they will bring positives into the dressing room, and that can only help.
yeah.
Hi, Mr.
Hi,
K.
Mr. K.
Hey, Mr. K.
Right, Mr. K.
They're definitely. I feel like with these two players, it's sending a strong message, that you're not too big enough to get the boot or get sold on.
They sound like good characters, both of them. I mean, Bentancur has been described by even his critics at Juventus as the hardest working player in the Juventus midfield, and Kulu Hoop, as I like to call him. I can never say the second part of his name. Apparently, he's a hard-working winger as well. So they'll bring positive aspects to the squad, won't they? They won't be dossers and mentioning no names in Ndombele.
He's been likened to Zlatan. He's Zlatan.
He's supposed to be Zlatan's a replacement in the Swedish team, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But Guguma, do you think our mentality will be better now with Kulu? I'll call them Ben and Kulu. Ben and Kulu has arrived, right?
I think so, because like Johnny said, like Bentancur, he has a good reputation as a hard worker, and I'm sure the same for Kulusevski. Also, I believe that Paratici, he wouldn't have brought them in unless he had a good idea of what their mentality was like and how they were within the squad. So I think it will help change the mentality. And also, Bentancur, he's won a lot with Juventus, so he knows what it's like to be a winner, and so I think that's really important to bring that into the squad, So I think that'll definitely help us.
Yep. And Sean, mentality and going to the new season? Will that
Yeah, I
be
think
carried forward?
I think it depends on what side of the mentality we're looking to hope to improve, right? If it comes down to the winner's mentality, we have got to. We've won one trophy in Daniel Levy's tenure, but we've got 16 cup finals or cup semi-finals in that time. The year after we won our last cup, we lost on penalties in a 0-0 game in the League Cup the following year to Manchester United. But apart from that, we've always been like the bridesmaid, never the bride. We get as far as we can, and I think generally speaking, if you're good enough to get to the final, you should be good enough to win it on a one-game shootout. And so there is something about a loser's mentality that seems to be consistent with some of the Tottenham players. And having to Guguma's point, having Bentancur, he has won the Serie A 3 times. He's won a couple of cups as well with Juventus. So it'd be great to have someone in the centre of midfield who knows how to get the job done in a key battle area. Apart from him, the only winner we've ever had, Hugo Lloris won the World Cup, but he's a goalkeeper, and so he can't really affect too much of what's happening out in the field. And Ben Davies is the only other person who's got a winner's medal in our current team, and he was an unused substitute in the final when Swansea got there in 2014. So we don't have winners. We haven't got anyone in the 11 generally or the squad who has that ability to get things over the line. Having Bentancur in, I think, is going to be great. In terms of whether or not they're all going to gel and create a better atmosphere, I guess that all depends on what they're like as people. But from what I've heard, I think Kulusevski was a very popular guy in the dressing room, and I think Bentancur as well. So the fact that we've got rid of the toxicity and brought in people that will hopefully acclimatise well to the English league and the winning mentality of Bentancur, I think it's definitely, to answer the question, I think it's definitely an improvement, and time will tell whether that kind of that breeds success throughout the rest of the team.
Yeah, and Arthur, question?
I think it's the old story, isn't it? That you get a couple of guys in that want to do things, and it tends to brush off on those around them. And I'm hoping this is going to happen, especially as the toxic mob have gone. We won't have people sniping and stirring the naughty pot, I think they're going to be a good addition, and if they prove to be as good as I'm being told, then they will have a major influence on the rest of the squad.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Alan, since you're a bit late, we were just going through the transfer window. How did you feel? And then there was a question from Tom from Footy Live, right, regarding the mentality and the coming season. Will we have that mentality to go forward and be a better following season?
Yeah, a bit of a day, weren't it? Not a lot of people going out and not many people coming in. And so my overall view was a poor window due to the fact that I think we should have got people in earlier. But the only thing I'm hoping for with the people going out is that it brings a better feeling into the club. Just like when Poch took over, he got rid of 4 or 5 bodies. We never replaced them in the winter, and we started to improve. So,
all right. So since we've gone through answering Tom's question, right? For me, is that I think what I more or less will echo more everybody's opinion here now at the moment. More or less, we have more or less the same opinion. It's a wait and see. The players coming in were not that exciting in the beginning, right? Like what a lot of us saying that we could have done the business earlier. Why wait until lastminute.com again, which is always Spurs, right? And of course, the most happy thing that we more or less have seen at the moment is like the outgoings of Lo Celso and Tanguy, right? And of course, we got Dele off our wage bill permanently. That's another plus. That's another 100K a week plus to save, most probably to be used during the summer window. But of course, having those players come in, hopefully that will improve our mentality, number one, right? And take away all that negative energy in the dressing room. And one thing we did touch on a bit earlier is that even Hitchin is gone now. So I guess there must have been a big shakeup during this transfer window, right? Yeah. And have you guys actually seen the article by The Athletic there was a long article written that Daniel Levy actually wanted Diaz, and then he got screwed up, and then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so and then I was very curious about this article. It's like all of a sudden the article was put out there to like defend Levy, right? And to put the blame onto Paratici, and like Paratici had to panic, and then he had to go back to Juventus to get players in to cover his BUTT.
Was that by which journalist was it by him? Was it Matt Law, or is he not Athletic?
No,
I don't think he's
Matt Law's the Telegraph. Is it not Eccleshaw? I read the article. I didn't take the byline in. But Eugene's absolutely right. I mean, it was very defensive about Levy, but what it was showing, though, was that Levy was undoubtedly prepared to put the money up. I mean, everybody complains that Levy's nickel and diming here and there, but it looked like he actually did that deal and put a price together, and the player was prepared to accept it. And it was his agent that scuppered it and said, and then approached Liverpool, and Liverpool put the money up, and then he went to Liverpool. In other words, I know a lot of people like to bash Levy, and I suspect a lot of it is justified. But this was one that was clearly he was doing his best to get a deal over the line and get it over in relatively quick time. And from the facts that I know, he was relatively blameless on this. But just on the Hitchin thing, a couple of things. One of the things I get notifications of is the Spurs Express. And the Spurs Express, just as we were coming on air, said that Conte was very close to Hitchin and is apparently unhappy. And when he does his presser tomorrow, he'll be making reference to the fact he's not happy that Hitchin has gone. And I just throw that in there because I think all of us think that Hitchin's been half the problem for He was loved
the
last few years.
Inside the club, Ian. Inside the club, if you look at the Football London did a report on him today, and they were going back saying Pochettino didn't like him when he first joined, but then within 6 months was like they were best buddies. Same with Mourinho, same with Nuno, everybody, and all the playing staff, all the backroom staff. He comes across to me like somebody who's obviously very agreeable and very nice and popular. Probably puts their arms around everybody, telling them that they're great, gets everyone on side. And look, in other clubs, he signed Luka Modric for us. He got Luis Suarez for Liverpool. I'm sure he'll go on to do wonderful things wherever he goes next. There's certainly not necessarily a lack of talent and lack of likable characteristics there, but ultimately at the end of the day, he was responsible for bringing in a lot of failed transfers.
Absolutely right.
And too many cooks spoil the broth. There are too many people with their hands over the negotiations.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Sean on that. Sorry, Eugene. Sorry, just one quick thing before you go round again. And a quote as well from Rodrigo Bentancur. Quote, I would say I'm a very tactical player who covers free spaces, does well when winning the ball back, and moves it forward quickly. I can't help thinking that's exactly what our midfield needs. Exactly what it needs.
And that's exactly what we sold when we sold Modric.
Okay.
Just on Hitchin going, to take it back a step. Apparently, from what I've read and what I've heard, is that we've actually restructured the whole scouting network. It's not just Hitchin gone. It's a lot of people are gone and a lot of new faces have come in. So they're trying to build something from a base up. And by all accounts, Hitchin was on top of that sort of I would say pillar pyramid, and he just fell on his sword.
Right.
Was he pushed, or did he walk?
I think Everton tapped him up and said, "Look, you'll have more freedom here. You'll have more."
Absolutely.
He resigned, right?
Yeah, he
resigned. He resigned. Yeah, he resigned.
Yeah.
So,
Director of football at Everton is a bigger job than, I don't know what you'd even call it, chief scout at top.
Development. It was development or technical development officer, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, whatever that means.
Technically, development.
I mean, when you say he wasn't pushed, if you look at actually what happened to his role and position when Paratici came in, it was like, dude, what job do you have left?
Yeah.
Like, what's your actual role? And I think that loss of prestige, where he was, quite influential, and then completely losing that. I think to a certain degree that must have hurt him inside.
Yeah,
And on top of that, there was talk of actually him being asked to fall on his sword last summer. And this is when Alistair Gold made a very passionate video and to defend him and say, look, this guy is not the problem, but he's been made into a scapegoat. And I think that kind of belies what the real situation is behind the club, is that Levy will throw anyone in front of him so that the blame doesn't go onto him in any way. And I think to a certain degree, we can all sit on the outside and we can turn around and say, well, that's not his responsibility, that someone else makes that decision. Ultimately, if you look at how the transfer window actually went, it's exactly the same way Levy does business every single year. So it doesn't matter whether you got a director of football or, Hitchin or wherever. Like, if Levy's going to interfere with how things are purchased, then I understand he has to sign the check. I get someone has to do it. But this lastminute.com, it doesn't really help anyone. It certainly doesn't help the team. I agree.
Hold on, guys. Hi, Mr. K. How are you doing?
Hi. Not too bad.
Mr. K.
That must be Mr. K, right?
Right.
This is
a little bit
Spurs
unfair.
TV. Hi, Mr. K. How
It's a
you
little
doing,
bit unfair. I think what it is that we're all left with a residue of this window, the 31 days, where either it went in a flash for you or it was, torturous. It really comes down to your individual personality, how you like. Myself, it was a case of like, I really expected to see Paratici put a stamp on this transfer window. And I genuinely thought that in the first 2 weeks, we'll get one or two players because he'd want to prove everything, like, do things in a different way, get them into the team. They know that they're there. They can start training. The fans will be happy, something to celebrate. But everything happened in the last day. And, I don't know if anyone's impressed with that.
That's always the way it goes, Mr. K.
Yeah.
Like it's the
For
January
not for who,
window
though?
is-
What you mean for Spurs, you mean?
No, but it's
Not for everyone else, though.
Well, look, Newcastle needed 8-9 players to have a chance of staying up. They got 2 done early because they were easy transfers.
Two done early. So hold on. 2 done early. That's 2.
Yeah, but no one was
that's-
going after. Nobody was competing for the signatures of Kieran Trippier or Chris Wood. Right? No one wanted those players. And also, when it comes to players that in January you've got 31 days, and I always use this analogy. It's like a Mexican standoff or like an old Western bar fight where everyone's ready to fight, but it's all calm until a glass falls off the table.
Yeah, it's like a
smashes
domino
and
effect.
then it goes chaos.
Yeah,
or
it
it's
is
like
domino.
or use the analogy of like a mortgage, right? When you're trying to sell your house, but you're stuck in a chain, you can't buy before someone else buys from them, and it goes down the line. And I think in January, it's just like the January window is not fit for purpose when you align the 25-man rule.
Would everyone
It's
agree?
impossible.
Okay, I will say that. But would everyone agree that, or disagree? The plan to get those 2 players like Adama and Diaz, do you think that was real and legit, or was the plan always to go for these 2 boys in Juventus?
Well, Mr. K, as been mentioned, Mendes literally wrecked both deals.
Right.
This
So
is what I'm
those deals
hearing.
are definitely on. Those deals
They
are
were on.
100% on.
But Mendes interfered, and
He's a money man, isn't he? He loves money.
I love Tottenham to the bottom of my heart, right? But I'm never going to say that a player's not going to pick not pick us over Barcelona or pick us, unfortunately, over Liverpool. Yeah,
Yeah,
At
agreed.
the moment.
in our history, against Liverpool over the last 50 years, really, we've only finished above Liverpool, I don't know, 10 times in the league. They're a big team. They're a massive team.
No Tottenham player that's ever played for Tottenham had the opportunity to play for Manchester United
Right.
or Chelsea or Liverpool and then turned them down over us.
Right. So if that is the case, look, I know about Mendes. He's not a very nice character when it comes to money.
Dele Alli
Right,
did.
and- Well, there you go.
He could have gone to Liverpool, couldn't he, when he chose us? But that's when we were finishing above him consistently, about 6 or 7 years.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's the phrase. But as I was saying, like we've got to that situation where I think Paratici must have pulled these 2 out of the bag because it's got him written all over it. I think we've done amazing with Kulusevski. It's Bentancur which I have doubts about. He reminds me too much of like the problem that we had with Lamela, where we have a player that's what's he going to produce at the end of it. And the thing is, there's some great videos of his skills, but there's also loads and loads of videos. Trust me, there's loads about him messing things up, doing the Celso moves.
That's
And,
the problem, Mr. K. Though you get these highlights packages, so I didn't want to fall down that route. So because he's quite a big Uruguayan player, one of their fans does a highlights video of every game, all of his touches.
yeah, I saw
So I've
two
watched a load
highlights.
of those. I like the way he receives the ball. I like the way he moves the ball. He looks like a good player to me, to be honest.
Yeah, no. What it was, for a laugh, I had to look at videos that were the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Where they showed every mistake you can imagine. And you know what it is? I think it's fun to see videos like that because they show the players to be human, that they will mess up. And it's something that if you're in the stadium, you will see that. But if you're watching on TV, you'll miss things like that.
If you're being mischievous, you could put one together for Kane, couldn't you? Or his free kicks
Well,
and some of his shots that, nearly hit
No, I think it's fun to have them. I think it's just fun to have them. It shows that
it doesn't give you too much insight though. The highlight reel and the low light reel. You want to if you want to really do some research, you need to actually sit there and watch the highlights.
Like I said, I'm just worried, but I'm not worried about what Conte will do with them because I think that he's got two hardworking boys. They've come from Juve. They're going to be trained in that mentality of winners.
Conte fit as well.
And they'll be Conte fit. So I'm positive about the window because we got four out and 2 in, and hopefully we'll get one back. Gil we're not letting him go.
That's probably why Brian Hill had such a stormer last night because he spent the last 3 months getting Conte fit, and he's gone back to Spain and he's ripped it up in his first game because he's so much fitter than a lot of the players he was playing against last night.
Do you think he'll come back? Do you think he's
in a
done
good place
in the
last
Tottenham
night? How did they get on then, John?
Gonna come back.
It was only
Hill?
It was only
he'll
alone.
come back. Yeah, I think
I don't know. His message seemed quite final, didn't it? Like, my family encouraged me to come back to Spain. There was no for 6 months, and then I'm going to go back to England. It seemed quite final, to be honest. Which is a shame.
No, I think not even saying that.
as
Why
it
didn't
is.
he stay in England? Why didn't he go for like another team in France, Germany, or somewhere like that?
I don't think
he
there
went
was
back to
much on
Spain
offer for
because
him.
he's more.
Mr. K,
No
at that
offer.
particular point, it was Friday night, right? We had 2 days left. We hadn't signed anybody. We'd just been turned down by Diaz. We'd just been turned down by Adama. And you can tell, like, it might have been like getting rid of the 3 or 4 players that we eventually got rid of looked like harder baskets to fill than Brian Hill. And there was an obvious option there, and it was seamless. And so, if you needed to get rid of someone before you could bring Kulusevski in, I would imagine now, with the benefit of hindsight, that Paratici's like, well, that was one we didn't really need to let go of in the end. But at the time, it was the easiest deal to arrange to allow the Kulusevski deal to come in.
It's only a loan. There is no option or obligation to buy. It's just a straight loan for 6 months.
Yeah.
I think they might have done this on a personal level because the visa laws to get in and out of Spain at the moment are quite difficult. So it's not like he can go home for 2 or 3 days. If he is struggling to settle in London, it's not like he's completely cut off from all his family and everything back home. It's not like normal times, is it, where he can just go home for the club can let him go home for 2 or 3 days. He's kind of stuck over in London on his own. So maybe the club on a personal level have said to him, yeah, it's been a horrible time for you. Go back for 6 months, see your family, and then come back in the summer and go again.
He hasn't learned any English by all accounts. He's been here 6 months and he doesn't. Like, I saw a video of him in late December when he was playing a game on the training pitch with Harry Winks, and Harry Winks had to use broken Spanglish to try and communicate with him.
Spanglish.
Did you notice he shaved his tash off as well? Now he's gone back. It's gone, isn't it, already?
Big up, Bobby.
Big up, Bob.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. Big up, Bobby.
To tell you the truth, right? This is what I'm trying to say, right? Actually, Hitchen has been made a scapegoat in my opinion. Same person writing the checks, right? Maybe the Diaz deal that we didn't get, right? So somebody's head had to roll. So maybe Hitchen.
I think this could have been planned, Eugene, to phase out Hitchen, not to get rid of him straight away when Paratici came in, so his reputation wasn't damaged, by implication, by them having to bring in Paratici in the rebuild. So maybe, because I know Levy does like Hitchen quite a lot, so maybe he thought, right, stay for a couple of transfer windows and then we'll phase out your exit so that it doesn't look like I'm getting rid of you and getting Paratici in, kind of thing, so that his reputation's not damaged.
Has Valencia got any players?
For all? One sec. All I want to do is say, piss off, Bob. And get better soon.
Wicked. Has Valencia got any players we might want in exchange in the summer?
We'll see.
Yeah, I just don't know Spanish football as well as I should. So
Yeah. But it's an interesting point that Sean brought up, right? Maybe we are looking at somebody in Valencia that we might want, and maybe we can do a straight swap for him. But maybe what Johnny is saying is true too, right? Maybe Hill is a bit homesick, right? So maybe and he's not at the level that which Conte wants him to be, right? So, and maybe he might not be used that often. So maybe let him go back home and be with his family for a while and regroup a bit. And hopefully he'll learn some English when he's in Spain, right? And when he comes back, maybe he'll bring a couple of people with him. Maybe he'll bring his mom or dad or his girlfriend or, you know, a cousin or sister or brother to join him back in England to make him feel more at home. And by the time, I guess, while all these things that's been going around the world now, the immigration rules and all that, and all the COVID protocols and all that be more relaxed. By the time he comes back next year, it will be softened and all that. So, like what Johnny says could be true, right? To have a certain, I call, compassion, you know, shown to a player. You know,
I tell you, it surprised me. I was watching some of the South American qualifiers the other day. It was on La Liga TV, and a load of the adverts they have, you know, advertising just their product in general. You know, La Liga TV. Brian Hill was in a lot of the adverts from last season, scoring goals, providing assists, skinning people. He was a big player in Spain last year, so I guess Tottenham must have wanted more from him this year. I didn't realise what a big player he was in La Liga last year, but he's on all the adverts and all the promos and stuff.
That's true. That's true.
But that Beatles haircut he's got.
I love his hair. So cute.
Yes, Arthur.
Just seen a news flash. Levy's changed his name to Swerve.
Swerve. That's a good one. Right, but of course, Levy has been always swerving, right? He's got that Matrix kind of thing, right, where he can bend and dodge bullets, you know. He's been bending and dodging bullets for about the past a decade and a half, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, but I don't know. Coming back to the transfers, and I guess everyone has more or less have got their own opinions towards it. But for me, is that I'll always be the one who will wait and see, right, with the players coming in, whether they adapt, right? Don't forget, if Hill came in and he can't adapt, how sure are we going to be that Ben and Kulu comes in and they're going to adapt? But if they are hardworking, and if Conte really was one of, if they were the chosen ones by Conte, right? So that will give me more, a more positive feel about it. You know, at least I feel a bit confident that, like I said, in the end of the day, whatever happens at the club now, right? In Conte, we have to trust, right? That's a simple thing, right? But if they weren't brought in, if they were panicked by, right, because of what happened to Diaz and Traore, and all of a sudden that, you know, what Levy couldn't get across the line, and he had to turn to Paratici, and Paratici had to pull the rabbit out of the hat to get those two players in, then we will really have to sit down and have a long look at what's going to happen. That's why that's how I feel.
I think that Kulusevich, that's a guy. He's got pretty good English, so I think he'll take a little bit less to adapt to this current squad. Plus, he's also got Golini, who I believe he played with Golini.
Yeah, Atalanta, yeah.
Atalanta?
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be fine. I don't know how good Bentancur's English is, but growing up in Argentina, I think English is like a second language almost. So
Uruguay,
yeah.
Yeah, he's.
I don't think he did his introduction video in Italian or Spanish, and it was only like 9 seconds long. So he obviously doesn't know English.
I know English. I learned it from a book. Well, come on, you Spurs. I just tell him, just say, "Come on, you Spurs," and stick your thumb up. Come on, you Spurs.
Put it this way, even Ozzy's English still broken now, even nowadays, isn't it? He's lived over it for 40 years.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But
He spoke good English. I don't know. He's about the only other Uruguayan we've had. He had good English. I don't know if he learned that at Chelsea or whether he already spoke a bit.
yeah, but Gus Poyet before he came to us, he was already in England for some time, right?
Gus Poyet's going to be loving it, and he'll be back. He'll be on all the Spurs pre-matches and stuff now, won't he? Like
and on the Sky Sports panels,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
made a quick 50 grand this season.
Yeah, hasn't he? Just
Nice for him. Yeah.
The weird thing is, Sean, we moaned for so long that we never had no Spurs representation on the Spurs on the Sky Sports or anything.
Yeah.
And now we've got quite a lot.
Got loads,
It's a shame that there's one person. There's Jamie O'Hara. If there's one person I wish was not associated with Spurs, it's Jamie O'Hara.
Oh, you don't like him, no?
Oh, Darren Bent.
I think
Darren Bent's a
Bent
gooner,
as well.
though, Shane, isn't he? He's a gooner.
Yeah, he's a gooner.
Yeah.
But my thoughts went down on him big time when he sat in the studio on the semi-final day, and he said because he couldn't play against us because he was loaned out to Portsmouth. And he turned around and he says, "Of course, I want Portsmouth to win."
Cody.
Who said that?
He said
Jamie O'Hara.
Jamie O'Hara.
Yeah, when we played Portsmouth in the semi-final, he said, "Of course, I want Portsmouth to win. I want to be able to get a medal."
Oh,
What?
He wanted to play in the final. I guess he couldn't play against us because he was, on loan, but he could have played in the final.
That's a pretty difficult spot to be put in, though, isn't it? If he can't play and someone says, "Who do you want to win today?" How do you answer that? You're going to offend whatever you say. You're going to offend
FA
someone.
Cup final or your parent club.
Yeah, you should say, "I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to be diplomatic and say, I hope it's a good game."
He's not clever enough to do that, though, is he?
Hence why I'm not keen on him.
Yeah. I like him on TalkSport though. Sometimes when I can't sleep late at night, and I put on the late bar, whatever it's called,
to send you to sleep.
I remember that. I remember that season. I remember that season when we took, I think, about 3 players from Portsmouth, and we sent them 2 players. I think O'Hara was one of the players we sent to them to compensate. Was that 2008? I think that was just before Harry Redknapp.
During Redknapp or before?
Harry Redknapp came in 2008, and Ramos was there. Clive Allen was doing a bits and pieces, holding the ground in between.
We bought Defoe, Cabal. I can't remember the other one.
I mean, the 3 players we took directly out of Portsmouth that season. Then
Crancher. Did we get Crancher or?
Yeah, we got Crancher in.
Crancher.
There was one more.
Crancher.
Crouch. That's it. Crouch was the third one.
I don't think it was that early. Crancher was a little bit later, I think.
No, he came the same season, 2007 to 2008.
That was a bit like our Stevie G, Slippy G man, wasn't it? I remember being at Wembley there, and Dawson just slipped to the knee, and the guy.
So basically, so Redknapp did the deal from Portsmouth, and then a couple of months later, he came to become the manager here. What a coincidence! Redknapp all over, mate. Double dealing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Just because I know a lot of the guys on this panel are Team Levy out. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So, given I sort of referenced a stat earlier, right? We've won we've won 1 trophy in his tenure, in Levy's tenure, but we have made it to 16 semi-finals or finals. 6 of those were finals. Didn't get across the line in any of them. What percentage of the Team Levy out distaste for Daniel Levy is based on lack of trophies, or
no?
Is
mine's just
lack of spend or lack of trophies.
It's what happened was, Ian. I gave him the benefit of the doubt right up to literally up to this window. I've been sitting on the fence. I said to John and a few the other boys, I was going to give him 3 windows, right? But I was kind of hoping and expecting something a little bit earlier because I knew because of the big games we had through this month or last month. Yeah. But it was just kept reading. It was doing the same thing, putting £5 million in less in his offer. Okay. Yeah, if he'd gone straight in with, I mean, I'm not saying it would have happened, but if he'd gone straight in with 20 million for Traore at the start, we might have got Traore at the start of Jack because Barcelona might not be able to do anything because at the time they had to let players go.
Yeah,
that's to let players go to be able to get players in. Because of their wage structures buggered up or something. Mm-hmm. So
when you're buying a house, though, Alan, you don't put in your proper bid first up, do you?
No, but
all of this should have been going on before January, shouldn't it? If we had definite targets, put in your
Especially
low
when you-
bids, lowball it, and
especially-
negotiate, and then get it in place ready to go at the beginning of January.
especially when you
Mhm.
consider we've been chasing Traore in the summer.
Yeah. So your
Yeah.
frustration with Daniel Levy is more around the spending issue, like his
I think
inadequacies as a negotiator.
I don't know whether it's classed as the spending or whether it's classed as I feel like he's broken a promise.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Oh, you think it's a bad person?
At the end of the
Okay,
day-
yeah, fine. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, he always said that we was going to be run self-sustainably. That is why I've never really been. I was never a levy out. We're going to be run self-sustainably,
Yeah.
right?
Which we are.
But But
Yeah.
the thing is, when you come to this window, if we'd still been in empty stadiums, Sean, I could have mostly understood a bit of a struggle here and there. But hearing players having to be sold before they're coming in, when they're thinking, well, we've had half a season, you've had the season's ticket, like season ticket money. You've had the 2 NHL games. You've had a boxing night.
Yeah.
And you promised us that once we was in the stadium and it was up and running, we'd be trying to compete. Now, don't get me wrong. One of the reasons why we haven't been able to compete in them games you're saying is because 90% of them we've been playing the teams above us in the league.
Yeah.
And Man City and Chelsea. I know we're never going to be able to compete with Man City and Chelsea. We can't. Unless we get a new owner in,
Well, we can go down that. There's a whole different conversation around what's the future look like with spend, and I've got a whole. We can do that another time. But I just say, is the rest of the guys on the panel who are Levy out? Do they share this? It's not so much about lack of success, because I know on like Tottenham Tantrum Gold, for example, who are all staunch Levy out, they put down their frustrations to lack of trophies, not so much lack of spend. It's more like we haven't won anything versus every 10-year period in the last 100 years. So I'm just trying to get a feel, because I haven't been on your show before. Is it
I think it's what Jose said about being like specialist at failure and having the wrong type of mentality to be winners.
Yeah.
I mean, he his eyes glit up when he thought about some of the Spurs squad when he was at Chelsea, because we were literally threatening them at that time. He could see that we were a rising team and we had a lot of young talent that was hungry. But when he got inside he's starting to realize, hold on a second, there's a mentality problem here. And that mentality always, when you look at any structure and organization, mentality problems always come from the top and go downwards. So there's something about the atmosphere, there's something about the setup of that place, which is not conducive for successful at football itself. We're always going to be good at it because we've always had good pedigree of people coming through, good coaches, good players. I mean, don't forget, you can't rubbish these players. At some point or another, before they came into our club, they had qualified themselves. They worked hard to be where they are. But I feel as if some of the talent's been wasted because there's no clear directive at the top in terms of what type of playing style and what type of philosophy we have as a club. So we'll go from attacking type of manager to defensive manager and flip-flop, and that's just not continuity, which means that the philosophy is not for the football. It's more there just to kind of like keep us where we are. And I think getting to a final every now and again shows the tenacity of the players and how hard they're working to get there. But every time you go to a final, nobody has a realistic expectation that we're actually going to win the damn thing. So that became very clear when we went up against Liverpool. It was like semi-final was our final. If you can understand that.
Cody's question there.
Go ahead.
Can I answer Cody's question there? Cody, right? But as I say, they told us it was going to be self-sustainable at the start, so that is why they're not going to pile the money in. And there are quite a few owners that don't actually back their managers.
Absolutely right.
Right? There's plenty of them that don't back their managers. Man United don't back their manager with their own money. They back it with money that they got coming in.
And they take dividends, which Daniel Levy and Enoch don't do.
I think that's really crucial. Sorry, Alan, I'm just going to add to Sean's comment there before you go on. One of the things with the Levy Out campaign is they have a slogan, profit before glory. Now, I don't know what what that actually means, because as I understand it, the vast majority of the profits have been put back into the club and into the companies. I think they took one dividend the first year they took over and haven't taken a dividend since. 100%. So that statement is a total misnomer. There is no evidence that the owners are taking money out at the expense of the team. Sorry, Alan.
Hold on, guys.
Can I rebut that? Because I think that's plainly wrong.
There's no known evidence. All right.
Yeah.
That's
Well, compensation
in the book.
People will point to Daniel Levy gets paid the highest as a chairman, which actually isn't correct. His salary is, I think, third highest. But when you factor in the bonuses that he got paid, I think he got paid a £3 million bonus for delivering the stadium 1 year early, which is part of your compensation. And let's be honest, the guy is a very, very smart businessman who bought the club for 22 million and it's now worth 2 billion. Right? So he could
overall.
Well, 62 overall, but his share of it I think was 22 because he bought 25 or 30%. But his But like he's a very smart businessman, and if he was to work at any other club, at any other business in the world, he would probably take far more money than he does get paid at Tottenham Hotspur. But compensation for all of the directors overall is less than it is at any of our competition. Crystal Palace's directors and executive board get paid, I think, 40% more than our executives do overall because we have fewer directors. The other thing to point out is that it's compensation. That comes before profit. So everything that's left after profit, after amortization, after depreciation, your profit is profit, and we put it all back into the club. None of it gets taken out. So to Ian's point, that whole thing that giant slogan, profit before glory. I mean, I don't know what it means either because the profit gets put back in.
Maybe I can explain it to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. K.
Okay, right. So we get a club. You buy it for, say, I don't know, 40 million. Right? It's worth over 2 billion now. I don't know if anyone actually understands the bloody numbers there. Right? That's a significant hike in the value of what you have. Now, you have ownership over that particular product or that entity, whatever you call it, that thing in your hand. It went from 40 million to 2 billion. Right? Now, if that can increase like that, and you've got this beautiful stadium, you've got the immaculate training facilities, which have only come at the end of this journey, by the way, and this club now is worth over 2 billion. The people who own it have got significantly richer by holding it. So this idea that you need to physically have some sort of money coming out of the club that goes into your bank and then you say that's my profit is a load of bullshit. And people trying to make it so simplistic. Listen. It's look, if you're going to turn around and say that you don't understand something, right? Yeah, then I'm explaining it to you. From 14 million to 2 billion is a significant increase in your value of what you have in your hand. If you sold it tomorrow, say there's a buyer, you sold it for bottom dollar, whatever it was, without getting any extra money on top, you are walking away with a crap load of profit. A crap load. And when you look at the pitch, when you look at the team, and when you look at the statements that Levy has made, every penny will go into the team, not the club, not the stadium. The team, that was his wording, the team. But when it came for him to spend £20 million on Adama Traore that he's been chasing since summer, and all of a sudden he can't do it, and the second round he gets stashed away by Barcelona, I'm sorry, but that's not very smart in terms of business. And people might say, well, you know, there's a domino effect and all the rest of it. I'm sorry, that team wanted to sell their player. They made it abundantly clear. They laughed at the £15 million bid. They turned around and said, are you joking? At least give us the value. That's taking the maniacal. But no, these are the same tactics which are being used.
Mr. K. Just because
it's a fair valuation.
Just because
I agree.
In your mind it is, but in other people's mind it might not be.
And may not be. Look, I get that. I get that.
You shouldn't just pay. Like if a Rolls Royce.
I'm sorry, but if this is what you want, look, if this is what you want, okay, we're two different things here. One is the profit thing. The second thing is the operational thing. All right. So I've switched from profit to operation. My apology. Let's go back to the profit. Does everyone understand that if you take something that's worth 40 million and you now increase the value of it to 2 billion, you've made something? Whether you want to call it profit or not, whatever word you want to use it, right? Yeah.
Paper.
Like it's immaterial. The point is that should point something out to you. Does that reflect? Does that 40 million to 2 billion? Does that reflect on the pitch?
No.
If anything, in the last 5 years, our team's got worse.
But over 20 years, mate, over 20 years, when Daniel Levy took over, our average from the 1991, under the sugar years, from 91 till 2001, I've got the stat. If you want me to bring it up, we can go through it. But I've got every.
We'll do that, Sean.
Yeah,
we'll do that in another
time,
show.
Another time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
another
fine,
show.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Well, no,
Step
actually, Sean. Most probably, I will get another show on, right? To just sit down, right, between a few of us, just to talk finance and iron out what's. I want to learn about the finance of.
Sure.
I've been trying to find someone to teach me about it. Yes, Johnny, go ahead.
Good show, Eugene.
Sean, I come at it from a different point of view. The reason I don't like Levy is because of his football decisions. The problem, the stepping off point for me when I first started getting really frustrated with him was at the beginning of every season when we'd be linked to players similar to Adama Traore, and it'd take right until the end of the window to sort out the deals, and he'd bomb off 12 Premiership points in the process, mucking around, negotiating and stuff, when we clearly needed a striker, for instance, and we weren't scoring goals. And then at the end of the season, we'd lose out on Champions League by maybe 1 or 2 points when he's bombed off 12 points at the beginning of the season, you know.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee that you would have got. First of all, you don't know the ins and outs. With respect, Johnny, don't know the ins and outs of why those deals. Like, everyone presumes that it's always Tottenham that are dilly-dallying over the deal. It could be anything else. There's a million variables we don't know about. And second of all, there's a massive assumption there that had you got the striker in on the first day of the window, that the 12 points would have been won, or 6 of them would have been won, or 3 of them. Who knows, right? It's always going to be variables and if, buts, and maybes. I take your point.
Yeah.
But at the
That's
same time,
operational. Does everyone understand the profit thing now? Because someone's put up a comment saying it's 5,000% increase.
Yeah, but respectfully, you've actually answered a different point to the one I made, and the one at the
profit.
point profit. You're talking about profit on the shares.
Who owns the shares?
Hang on, Let me talk. Just a minute. I picked this up on the profit before glory. Now, the profit in terms of the shareholding is absolutely right, but it's a paper profit until or if they sell, because and at this moment in time there's no indication that they're remotely interested in selling and therefore making or taking a profit. That
there's anyone wants to pay that money.
Right? Or anyone wants
it's
to
the same concept as valuing Adama at 50 million.
Hang on. Let me finish the point I want to make, and then I'll shut up. The profit before glory is a complete misnomer because the directors are not taking profits out of the club and putting it in their pockets. Stop. That's me done.
But
all right.
Aren't
Okay,
they reinvesting that money back into the hotels, back in the cinema?
No.
It's the
No,
money.
No, Shane, they bought that ground out of their own money. They bought it as a goods yard. That's where all the goods yard was, where they actually had all the stockage from when they built the stadium.
And just to develop that point quick, just quick once. Sorry, Eugene.
Hold on. Sorry. Arthur, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just wanted to say, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to say there's a simple description which underlines what's going on, and that's cash poor, but you can loan against assets, right? Banks will do it gladly because you've got the land, you've got the property, you can borrow against it and still have a good life. Right?
Yeah.
Arthur, you're an accountant. Can I ask you a question? You've gone. I hope you haven't frozen there. Is that the debt in the annual accounts was £706 million, which I would imagine is loaned against the money in the stadium, etc. Can you throw any light on that? Because I know you're an accountant. I've got a feeling
Arthur's frozen. I think Arthur has been levied, so he can't speak for a while. But let me answer. Let me.
His assets have been frozen.
Sean, you were asking about the Levy-in thing and Levy-out thing. Why? My side point of view is that Levy is not honest. Number one, right, and he's not accountable. That's all. Okay. Not being honest is that when he came up with statements that saying putting back every cent that we make and putting it back into the team, we never seen that, right? Number two is that he came out during the Aston Villa game in the program. He said that we have misspent 250 million or so on buying players, and that shows no accountability. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at least now there's a slight accountability with Hitchen gone, but I see him as a scapegoat. You see,
Okay.
maybe this is
That's
part
fair
of
enough.
the you know, all the pressure's been built up to him. Somebody had to go. You get what I'm saying? He can't sack Conte, he can't sack Paratici because they just brought him those two in, right? So I guess I feel Hitchen is a scapegoat for all. I mean, that's my
Eugene.
opinion on it. Yeah, go ahead.
If he was a scapegoat, then surely he would have been sacked. But apparently, you're saying he. When I asked earlier, he's resigned.
You can be forced to resign.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
we're here. I suppose we're here
and
about
Arthur,
it eventually.
Arthur, are you? Is your internet okay, or you're still breaking up? No, he's frozen again.
Can I just tell up something about the property thing? When a lot of the team Levy out say, you know, we're focusing on a cinema and building houses rather than putting the money into the team. And it goes to also the same point about the debt on the stadium. We'd have a $700 million debt or pound debt. I think it's pounds. We had £1 billion debt. We paid back 300 million in the 3.5 years since the stadium went live, also including COVID, also including the year that we basically lost all of our revenue. And so, like, you have to factor that in. Look at what happened with Arsenal when they built the Emirates. They went 8 years before they won anything again. There is a time, like Tottenham will be in 2, 3, 4 years' time when their debt is down here. Plus, when you factor in inflation and like you can inflate your way out of debt. If the debt is on a long-term interest rate of 2.5-3%, which I presume it is, and then inflation's running at 7-8%, right? You can inflate your way out of debt. So people either don't understand that or choose not to remember that Daniel Levy's timings around the things that he's done has proven to be fantastic. Plus, unfortunately, no one was to know at the time, but when he greenlit the stadium cost was supposed to be 450 million. It turned out to be 2.5 times that amount because of a commodities boom that nobody saw coming. Nobody, like even the commodities experts didn't see it coming, just like no one predicted the oil and gas price surges that are currently happening because of inflation, because of geopolitical issues. You can't throw that at Daniel Levy, but despite all of those variables, he has managed to maintain the debt, pay it back, and also invest in the team. I know everyone wants everything yesterday, but in terms of the stadium, the properties around Tottenham, it's something also that no one remembers, is that in order for Tottenham to get planning permission, in order for Tottenham to get the approval to build the stadium, which will eventually enable us to have enough revenue to pay the 250 grand a week wages that all of the top players demand and can.
That's not called investment, though.
No, but hang
if you sell something, make the money and then put it back. It's not investment.
Let me
I know, but don't make those words then, isn't it?
Well, just let me finish my point, bro. Tottenham had to. They had to compromise with Haringey Council. We couldn't get the permission. We wanted to build a 70,000. Haringey Council came back and said, no, the most you can go to is 42,000 because of the underground issues, because of the transport links. Tottenham promised to regenerate and gentrify the entire area. So when people say Tottenham bought all this land and now they're focusing on cinemas and flats, first of all of the profit that's come from the properties that they sold has gone back into paying down the debt, which will eventually help Tottenham. Second of all, 35-40% of all of the apartments that are privatized that have been sold also have to go to local council housing, right, which is great for the local area, which is something that's necessary that no one chooses to remember. And third of all, it's a necessary evil. You had to do it. Tottenham couldn't have a 62,000 stadium unless they promised to do everything else, and no one ever chooses to articulate or remember that fact. It's not something that they wanted to do, or maybe it is what they wanted to do, but it's not something that we couldn't have the stadium unless those things were put in place. You have to remember that the indirect consequences of what Haringey Council ensured would happen to Tottenham if Tottenham Hotspur wanted to turn a 36,000-seater stadium that would never have generated the revenue to be able to pay for one player's salary, let alone 10, which is where we all want to be. If you want success, there's certain things there's certain ducks that have to be put in a row, and part of the property promise is very responsible for that, and that wasn't Tottenham's request, that was Haringey Council's request. No one chooses to remember it because it doesn't suit the argument, Mr. K.
Yeah, but
I was only referring to the word that you used, the word investment. If next man's going to go on about profit right here, then I might as well jump back and say, hey guys, don't talk about investing when you have to sell something or you're digging out money that you've made from something. It's not profit investment. You're not investing something. I don't understand why people keep using the word investing when clearly we've been sold a narrative for such a long time that we have to sell before we can buy. That's not called investing. Investing is you pull the money out of your pocket from somewhere.
We had to loan before we could buy. We had to get players off because of the 25-man squad issue. We had
Right, so that's not called investment, is it?
Well, what word would you rather me use?
Well, that's just recirculating the money that you've got. That's operational cost.
I'm not sure what your point is.
I'm sorry, but if you've got money coming into your business, right, yeah, and you then go and buy the milk again because you run out of milk, well, that's not called investing in milk, right? So you got the same thing with players. You got money coming in from players, and therefore you're going to be able to spend it on other players. That's not called investment. That's an operational cost.
Pick whichever word you want, but the point I'm making still stands.
Yeah, but that's like picking the word profit. It's like what we're trying to use that word, right? Yeah, it's the same thing that you're trying to use the word with the word investment. I do understand what you're saying, but if people are going to be pedantic about things, then I can be pedantic too. You can't have it both ways, guys. Come on.
But Sean, the thing is that what I see is right. Every single cent that is being generated by the club is because of the fans. You get what I'm saying? The fans spend the money, right? Every profit or investment that what BV is saying now is that he's taking back the fans' money to put it back into the club.
But
that's what I see.
It is back in the club.
I mean, it goes back to the club. I understand when you guys say there's no dividends and all that, but we'll do that in a different show.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'll set it up and we'll go through the numbers one by one. And of course, if Arthur was around, we all know that every large corporation out there, there's always a different set of books. The books that show you and the books that you don't see. And you are being an investment banker, right? Ex-investment banker and all that. You should understand that point too.
Yeah, of course. I do understand that point,
yeah. But we don't go there on this show now because today is the midweek show and we're very relaxed on this, right? So
sorry. It was
you chose to guess,
guys, viewers out there, in case you guys do not understand, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Ian and Sean, massive. They love the bloody club. All of us, we love the club, right? Yes. We may have a difference of opinion when it comes to one individual, short ball git, right? Yeah, but not you, Ian. No, I'm talking about the guy driving Bentley. But the thing is, we may all harbor ill feelings one way or the other way about one thing in our lives or something, right? Yeah, and somebody else harbors an opposite opinion somewhere. But all of us love the club. We want it to be successful more than anything else. At the same time, we don't want the club to suddenly fall on its face either. So, there's concerns on both sides, right? One thing we all got to agree on is we all Spurs in.
Yeah.
Come on, you Spurs.
Yeah,
come on, you Spurs.
We'll agree with that.
Sorry, it was my fault. I asked the question about what part of the Levy out thing is it about transfers or is it about attitude? And you've all answered it. I'm sorry, I've taken it down the wrong path.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Thank you.
Come on, we want your answer.
Yeah, we need Shane's answer and Gaguma's answer. Why do we hate Levy so much, the Levy outers? I already told you my side. He's dishonest and he's not accountable, right? That's all.
It's not a black and white answer, is it, Sean? It's like different variables.
Go ahead, Shane. Shane's turn to answer. Later we get Gaguma's view.
Yeah, I'm a combination of a multitude of things. Yes, I think he's very deceitful. The lack of for the lack of better understanding that we could have got Jack Grealish for $8 million. We offered $5 million. And look where he's gone from there. That's part of why I don't like him, and he's not accountable, as Eugene said.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. I take the point about the deceit and the he reneges on promises to players, or at least allegedly does. I take that point. He's not the sort of person. I've met the guy 3 times. Each time was less enjoyable than the last. I think he's.
You've met him before 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times I met him. Yeah, I met him at a couple
of
charities.
What did you ask him?
Oh, I just said he was at a charity dinner. You don't want to be a fanboy or a nasty guy.
Does he use baby oil on his head?
Yeah. No, I had a conversation with him about, told him I was a Tottenham fan and wanted to know what the plan was and that sort of thing. But I didn't, you get a couple of minutes here and there with the guy, but he just came across, he doesn't come across like people say he's a master negotiator, or that's the PR that he seems to have grown for himself. I think his style is just, this is the line, this is my price, take it or leave it, when it comes to buyers and when it comes to sellers. And I feel like he comes across, he considers every negotiation as like a battle where one person wins and one person loses. And I don't think that it should be thought of like a zero-sum game. I think that you should think of a negotiation generally where everyone can get value, right? And he doesn't seem to take. And so I listen. I understand everyone's frustrations with him as the person, especially if he reneges on promises. But when it comes to the math and the finances, I do think that there's more to the story that some people don't always necessarily either understand or choose to remember.
I think this is so right. I mean, as someone who's negotiated professionally throughout their career, negotiation usually is making it a win-win for everybody. It cannot always be about I've negotiated better than you, I've screwed you on the deal. And the trouble is, once you screw people on deals, they want to come back and screw you, or they won't deal with you. And I think that might be part of our trouble. I mean, I've said this on a broadcast before, but if Daniel Levy picks up the phone and says, you're another club chairman, it's Daniel here, I want to buy such and such. Are you thinking, great, I'm gonna, this is gonna be easy, or are you thinking, Christ,
go again.
It's that bastard Levy. It's that bastard Levy. This is good, and that's not good. That's not good for. Awful. That's certainly not good for Tottenham.
And that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, and I accept. I agree with everyone's frustrations there. 100%.
Southampton won't deal with us because of Levy's tactics. Negotiating tactics. There's other clubs that will not deal with us because Daniel Levy has the final say, and that's frustrating.
To tell the truth, right? How I see it, how the other clubs feel is very simple. We have a clause, a release clause, right? Let's say it's 80 million euros, right? You come back with an offer of 38 million euros, then the club will sit down and say, "Are you insulting me? Are you really insulting me like that?" So after a few times, that is Levy's modus operandi. That's why a lot of people don't want to deal with him, and that's how we get stuck in this type of scenarios, right? And let's get back to Guguma.
I was going to say, I'd like to hear what Guguma said.
Yeah, Guguma, are you a Levy out there?
No, I don't consider myself Levy out person.
Okay.
I'm not as knowledgeable about the history of the club or the management as all of you. I just started learning about all of this when I kind of met like the Spurs YouTube community last summer. So I'm still educating myself and learning things. But I do understand all this criticism, fan criticism against Levy. One of the things that kind of does strike me as odd, just from my personal standpoint, the only thing I would have to compare it to is like in Korea, a lot of the professional football teams are owned by conglomerates. But compared to chaebol. So compared to how they kind of run the club, they don't. None of like the owners or the CEOs have any hand in what goes on with the management of the club. But from what I gather, in the past, Daniel Levy has done that. So that's what kind of strikes me as odd. But yeah, I do understand after learning about what's been going on with the club for so long, why people are really frustrated. But yeah, but I wouldn't say that I'm Levy out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
to be changed. Oh no.
Go ahead, Guguma.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I do think that there has to be changes in how the club is run, for the sake of the football on the field. But yeah, that's my position.
It's not as easy as just paying the release fee, Eugene. Just to give you a couple of examples there. Gedson Fernandez, I think, had a release fee of £56 million. So you wouldn't just go and I want Gedson. There's £56 million. You're going to get your fingers burnt. I think Emerson Royale's release fee was €100 million, wasn't it, as well? to give you some example. So it's not, you wouldn't go to Barcelona and they go 100 million. There you go. You've got Emerson Royale. It's a negotiation that for what they actually value him at to the release fee is completely different price. You've got to try and find the price something in between.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you have certain kind of a release clause, right, at least get not that far away from it, not like 50% off the price that you're trying to get, right, but at least come to a census that you have the prices at a closer range to it where it's negotiable. That's why what happened with Diaz is very simple. We pressed Porto down so much, right, and then we let it slip our hands. Liverpool came in and paid such a cheaper price for him. See, so I don't know. That's why we've been bantered around at the moment now that we did the negotiations for Liverpool.
but we had an agreement in place. There was an agreement in place, and then Mendes stepped in and said, "Hey, look, you know, you're a Liverpool fan. I'll get Liverpool on board." And Liverpool come in with a slightly lower fee, but they ended up getting him.
They added 16 million pounds of extras on top, so they put 37 million pound in, and then added 16 million pounds worth on top. You know, that will eventually, play. I don't know, games played or whatever. But basically, that would then increase the value over 54. So really, what's happened is that we went in with a straight 38 million, full stop, and they went in with a 37 plus add-ons, and that's really what clinched the deal from them on that side of it. And then it was just down to the player. But first of all, you have to be able to talk to the player. And that means getting the club to agree to a fee, and we didn't get past that initial hurdle. We had all this time, apparently, of research or whatever, talking to the club, talking to the agent, talking to his family or whatever. But apparently, the same thing happened with, I think, way back when we were trying to get Willian. The guy actually came down to Tottenham Hotspur and actually did the medical there. And Chelsea said, "Hey, you know what? You've already done the medical? Brilliant. Come over here. Spend 2 hours with us. Sign a contract. Now you're our player." So there is, look, I understand that we need to look after the club, and I get that sometimes some people might unfairly get everything attributed to them, but I think to a certain degree, after 21 years, people become memes, they become caricatures, and it may not be right for someone who hears it for the very first time, but if you've been dealing with this for year in, year out, it kind of makes sense why we kind of laugh at this, because it's the only way to stay sane. It's like everyone keeps telling me that this guy's a brilliant businessman, but when it comes to football, I'm sorry, we're not. When it comes to football, no one can really convince me of that. They can talk money and assets and what he's done for the club that way. Yeah, brilliant, fantastic, wonderful. But when it comes to football itself, we've been so close, so many times. And the thing is, we're a top club, man. Yeah. We're not a Mickey. And people turn around and say, "We ain't got no trophies." Of course, we got loads of trophies. We got a whole freaking cabinet full of trophies. And this new narrative that as a club, we don't have, people chuck arguments at us. We're Spursy. We got won nothing. We have won things. And we're not Spursy. When other teams do a Spursy, they don't call themselves Spursy. So it's all media manipulation, a lot of catcalling. And I think that as fans, we need to kind of heal ourselves inside and start to find a pride again for our club. And the only thing that's stopping us is maybe a bad stigma attached to an individual person, where you maybe you're looking at pointing your finger around saying, who do I blame for this bad luck that we're having? But the thing is, if you could have bad luck 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but to have bad luck year in, year out, then there is something going on that's causing this to occur. It's like a football team that has an own goal, right? These things can happen, but the thing is, it seems to generally happen to those teams that are failing. Yeah. And it's a part, I remember Gus Poyet, right? Yeah, when he was managing, I don't know, with Watford or something, they were very terrible, and they let in 2 goals. They scored 2 goals of their own, and the opposition laughs at you, and then you're standing there, and there's fans, right? Yeah, you got this pride is hurt, and that this pride being hurt every single year, at the beginning of every year. I bet all of you guys at the beginning of the year, you think, yeah, man, we could do this, we could do that, and then bit by bit, you don't see the support, you don't see the cavalry coming. Maybe Conte can change this. Maybe Paratici can change this. That's where we're putting our hopes. I just hope it doesn't turn into a shed of tears.
Mr. K, though, isn't the problem been the mentality of the players? I mean, for some reason,
the mentality of players, of course, 100% correct. Now management has changed. coaching staff have changed, scouting staff has changed, players have changed, but for some reason, this mentality in the players seems to be constantly there. Now, the only constant factor I've seen in the whole equation over 21 years is Levy. So work that one out if you can.
So Levy's responsible for the losing mentality of the players.
I don't know. You tell me. I'm saying that if I'm saying, listen, guys, you can make a point and I can make an alternative point, which is just as valid, which is if management changes and if coaching staff have come in and gone, if players have come in and gone, why do we have this mentality?
Well, I don't think you can blame no,
I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just asking the question.
I'm saying I'll posit this to you, Mr. K. Right, 2008 was the last time we won the Carling Cup. Yeah, a lot of the people that are Team Levy out. This is why I asked the question originally. A lot of the other channels that I go on, when I challenge them on the finances, they bring it back to, but we haven't won shit. Sorry, we haven't won anything, or very much for and every year, every decade in the previous 100 years, you know, Tottenham now are on their biggest trophy drought for forever. And I'll say, okay, but what would have happened? Would you be happy then had Tottenham the following year after we won the 2008 Carling Cup, the following year we were in the final against Manchester United and we drew 0-0 and then we lost 4-1 on penalties. Would you have been happy had we won that game, and then that would be under Levy the first time since?
Do you think those penalties were decided by our mentality?
No, that's not exactly. It's the
I know, but that's what we're starting off with. We're talking about mentality here.
The point I'm making is that's also not Daniel Levy's fault that Woodgate missed a penalty or whoever it was.
Listen, Sean, right? Sean, I'm a simplistic guy, right? I'd like to keep it as simple as possible. What I'm saying to you, right, is that if after 21 years the coaching staff change, the players change, everything changes except for the people running the place. Yeah. And as Gaguma put out earlier, right, that it seems to be very unusual for this chairman to be so hands-on with pretty much everything, right, in the club.
Yeah.
Right. Throughout those 21 years. Yeah. Now, I'm saying to you that if there's a mentality issue with the players and the team, and that has been there for some time, then where does it come from? If you remove everything and the only thing you got left is one person, then pretty much you can point your finger at it.
That's a crazy stop.
You tell me. You give me an answer. I'm not. Listen. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to suggestions. Sean, you got an answer? Speak it.
I would love to.
Keep going on about other things, mate.
I'd love to, bro. If you're saying
you don't know, do you? You don't know. Neither do I.
Let him speak.
Mate, all I'm saying is, you're saying you're a simplistic person and you want to just look for the one underlying common denominator. And I'm saying that the devil's in the detail. You need to look into the nuance. You need to take the time if you want to have a full cogent argument.
Do you think this mentality thing is unknown to management in Spurs?
I certainly don't think that you can blame Daniel Levy for.
No. Let me ask you a question. A reasonable question, right? Yeah. Do you think that this mentality question, when it comes to sports science, right? Yeah, is kind of important. But do you think that this particular issue? Do you think that people at the top of Tottenham? Do you think they're not aware of it?
Aware of what? The fact that we can't get over the line in 16.
Well, I don't know. You had a professional come in last season. He turned around and said, "Listen, you guys are too nice. You guys, that's the wrong thing to have. That's the wrong mentality to have. You need to have winners' mentality." And obviously, you want to win something.
Daniel Levy spends his time in the boardroom. He's not on the training pitch trying to convince the players. Hey, listen, bite. You got to fight. You got to stick in. You got to get the tackle done. You can't get influenced by the crowd. All of those.
So the question was, do you think upper management don't know that in sports science, winning mentality is kind of really fundamental if you want to win something?
Yes, I'm pretty certain they know that.
Right. So if you know that, right, then how would you? Do you think that would be tackled in some fashion?
But I don't think that's the job of Daniel. This is the thing. The argument you're making.
Well, he seemed to have a job where he thinks the stadium is kind of important.
Let me get a word in before a sentence in, please. The argument you're making is that if you went to the training ground, or if you went on the way to the game with a bird shit on your head, there's the one common denominator. Every time I go to Tottenham Hotspur,
Levy.
Something bad happens. It's Daniel Levy.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty much as a human being. We're superstitious people, right? Yeah, human beings.
Madness.
And if the same thing happens like 2-3 times, we kind of fall for that, don't we? That's just human beings. My point is this, right? Yeah.
There's other common denominators. Winning mentality. We always play in a white shirt. Should we change the colour? Should we all wear long armbands? Should we all shave our head?
Fine. So basically, you don't think that upper management really know about this problem? Because if
That's
they
why
did, do you think they would do something about it? Because it's footballing, it's nothing to do with bricks and mortar.
we've just hired a sports psychologist, a dedicated sports psychologist.
Not for the first time. We've hired them before, and it hasn't changed
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I think Hoddle had some sort of like mentality person. Was it soothsayer?
I mean,
No, but we've had them before, right? It's not
He
not
goes,
as easy
"You
as
know what?
someone just
Let-
sitting down and hypnotizing everybody.
Eileen Drury.
That's
I mean,
it, Eileen Drury.
That's it. Yeah, good work.
Mr. K, there was
Go
a comment on about earlier about I've not forgiven Levy for sacking for not
Yeah.
packing and then sacking Poch. And Poch was the blue-eyed boy, still is the blue-eyed boy. Mr. Pochettino at the moment is working with some of the best players in the world at Paris Saint-Germain and can't win a bloody thing. So, there's always sometimes.
Yeah,
with-
but
Yeah,
Ian,
yeah,
that's because his whole ethos and the way he works is built around a team ethic, isn't it? And he's got individual players there who aren't going to run and put it in for him.
and that's not Daniel Levy's fault
Ian,
either. That's absolutely
2017. Ian, 2017 to 2018, right? Yeah, that particular season. Do you think Poch would have benefited from having two extra strong players in that team that he could have really taken the title, won a cup? I mean, would he benefited from that? It was the team that he built. We don't know. They all ifs and buts and maybes. Maybe if he had two extra
course
players,
they
they wouldn't have won the Diddley squad.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. That's too much speculation. And even with the biggest team out there, he hasn't been able to like cement his dominance with that team. But I think that the previous manager had the same problem, and he's doing very, very well at Chelsea right now. So that argument, unfortunately, doesn't quite hold it. As Johnny's saying, the circumstances change. The circumstances. I mean, Poch is known to develop a team, and here he's got a team that's already there. You just have to like put them in the right places. That's a different type of manager. I think he's the wrong fit for PSG. I think he's a perfect fit for. Let's have a look now. I think Manchester United might be the next club that you should go to.
Yeah.
Because they're right. Yeah, you got a lot of youth players, a lot of younger players there, which need someone like a Poch to come in to mold them into shape.
Mr. K, don't let me go on to the youth setup, please. We got the worst youth setup in.
Well,
the
I don't know.
whole
It's
league.
like the mentality
we're terrible
problem.
at youth.
Terrible academy products coming through, and a chairman that interferes with. Well, sorry, a chairman that has to kind of guide everything, including the dinner lady. So, I don't know. Look,
And
like I
what
said,
Rest
if
is
we have a
that he was
mentality
slim
issue,
having
how
lunch
come
with
no
the
one
players,
sorted it
right?
out?
Yeah. So, but
I mean,
guys,
Conte will, won't he? Conte will sort out the mentality issue.
Yeah. That's why, guys, we're reaching the 2-hour mark soon, right? So I guess in the end of the day, with Conte at our club, I guess most of us, even though being whether we are outers or inners and all that, right? And if Conte walks or if Levy doesn't support Conte or actually give him a contract extension, right? Hopefully by end of this season to tie him down long term, right? I think a lot of us will go crazy if I'm saying it. And with Conte and Paratici there now at the helm, with Hitchen gone, and of course, I wish Hitchen the best of luck in his endeavors,
Same.
right? And whatever he does in his life, because I sometimes pity him because he's always been the scapegoat of whatever happens to the club. And of course, we bought a lot of bad players under him. After who was the guy before that that went to Ajax? That was under Poch.
Steve Mitchell.
Steve Mitchell, yeah. Steve Mitchell was the one of the guys that
Paul
walked
Mitchell.
out.
No,
Paul Mitchell, sorry, Paul Mitchell. Oh, sorry,
Paul
Paul Mitchell,
yeah.
Paul Mitchell, yeah. Paul Mitchell left, and then that's when our recruitment went down the drain, if I'm not mistaken. From then onwards, we started getting a lot of bad players, right? Bad mentality, overpriced, and half of them can't play, right? So in the end of the day, like I said, in Conte, we have the trust, and I do see a positive step forward because this transfer window, we did get a few players out, some permanently, right? Actually, not some permanently, one permanently, some on loan, right? And one for the future, which is actually being loaned back to Spain. Whether he'll be coming back or not, we're not very sure on that too. But before we end the show, I'll go around the panel and let you guys have a say, your last words, and plug your channel. And how do we find you? Let's start with Shane. Shane.
I'm easy. I float around a bit. I get on a couple other people's streams when I can. You can find me at Shandy_Spurs on Twitter, at Shandy_Spurs on Twitter. And yeah, just catch me around.
Any last thoughts?
I was gonna. I wanted to have a bit of a chat about the upcoming FA Cup game, but I think we can save that for a different show.
Oh no, we
I-
can go there too. Since the upcoming FA Cup game, Tottenham against Brighton. Give us your prediction.
I'm getting pretty tired here. I'm crashing pretty hard, so it's
Sorry, Shane. I feel like I took it down a dark path. I do apologise, mate.
That's all right, mate. All good. It's just I'm in Australia, so it's just after midnight here. So I got to get up and go to work tomorrow morning. So yeah, I hope we get up to. We'll probably get up 2-1, or it'll be 2-2, and we'll go to penalties.
Wow.
All right. Okay.
Jeez.
Ian, last thoughts. The Brighton game. Right.
The Brighton game. Yeah, just I got a comment on my nemesis on the chat. Rez saying about Levy is their god. I hold no candle for Levy. If someone comes in tomorrow with the investment and the are the right kind of people, I'm more than happy that Levy goes into the sunset. I hold no candle for Levy whatsoever. It's the lack of viable alternatives is where I take issue with the Levy outers. I've run a business. I've owned businesses. I've been a director since I was 30. I can read accounts. I can read a balance sheet, and things are not as bad as people think. And I don't blame Levy for the fact that players consistently, it's different generations of players, have failed to achieve the results. Yeah, let's back Conte. Let's put some serious money behind him, and let's go win some of the trophies that we haven't won over the last few years. Because by God, we're due it. Although we've been in 8 FA Cup semi-finals over the last 20-something years, 22, 23 years, lost all 8 semi-finals. Even by the law of averages, we should have won at least four of them. And again, by the law of averages, won 2 FA Cups. We've been in successive League Cup finals and semi-finals and consistently lost them. The problem to me is the mentality, and it's not come from. I don't think it can be said to come from the chairman. We'll win the FA Cup tie on Saturday night, isn't it? 8 p.m. UK time. Yep. We'll win that. I think we'll win it comfortably. Conte's had some more time on the training ground with some of the players, had a rest. Expect us to win with a few to spare. Onwards and upwards. Come on, you Spurs.
Yep. And how do we find you, Ian?
How do you find me on your show, Eugene, and any others that I get invited to? The latest media whore. I don't have my own show. I don't have ambitions at the moment to have my own show. You invite me on, I'll come on and say my piece. You can follow me at Shaggy1712. I always follow Spurs supporters back.
Okay. And Johnny, you got a big show coming up tonight.
Have we?
Plug it.
We have. Tonight, 7:30, we've got the one and only Mickey Hazard on. I'm going to run through. So I'm going to take him through his early days at the club, right through to the end, and what he did after he left Spurs. So it's going to be a good chat. I've been finishing writing the questions this morning, so I've got some good questions for him, and hopefully, we know we're going to get some good answers out of him because he's always good fare, isn't he? He's a passionate Tottenham fan like the rest of us, and he's got some inside information from the old days, so he'll tell some old stories and stuff. So, yeah, tonight at 7:30 on Shelfside Spurs show.
Yeah. Any last words?
Be glad to see you all there. Brighton wise, I don't know. They're a good team, Brighton. I like watching Brighton. It could be a tricky game, actually. I don't know what their squad's like, whether Potter will rotate his squad. Like I imagine we'll make a few changes, won't we? So it depends who copes better with the changes that we make, whether our squad players come in and whether the Brighton squad players come in who adapts better to the game on the day. So it'll be a good game, actually. Score prediction: 3-2 to Tottenham.
Okay.
3-2.
And Alan, you're part of the Self-Site Spurs too.
Yeah.
Shelf-Site Spurs. Yep.
I might go on there
Uh,
tonight. No, yeah, really looking forward to it tonight. I got speaking to Mickey via Twitter, and I thought I'd try my luck, and hey ho, we got him. We've signed him, Johnny. We've signed him. We got him
I
in.
said Alan's like the Paratici of the Shellside Spurs show. I'm hoping he's working on some other things behind the scenes, and the next guest, the next deal. He's keeping his cards close to his chest, though, so I don't know who he's working on next.
Yeah, and Alan, last thoughts and score prediction for the Brighton game.
It's going to be a tight one. I'm not too sure there will be much rotation because they've both had near enough 2 weeks off. They might want to get their legs in. They might want to get their legs in because they've been playing again in midweek. I'm going to go for us 2-1 Spurs win.
All right. And Guguma, thanks for coming on, and you've been the big support to our channel. Any last thoughts and score prediction?
The Empress.
Last thoughts. I'm happy the transfer window's over finally. And I hope this gives us a refresh for the team, and we can just start on a really good foot for the rest of the season.
And Sonny should be back as well, Guguma.
Yeah,
Sonny should be back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for the Brighton game, I'd say 2-0 Spurs.
Yes, Guguma.
Clean sheet from Guguma.
Clean sheet from Guguma.
Yeah.
And Sean, how can we find you? And we will have to get back to more financial talk sooner or later.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. I've really enjoyed it. I do apologise for asking a question that then led into tangents and rabbit holes. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can find me, guys, at Spurs Talk Show. All one word, I think, on YouTube. If you do search for, put the spaces in between, you might find San Antonio Spurs stuff. So all one word on Twitter, all one word on YouTube, and at Spurs Talk Show on Twitter. But I really appreciate coming on, guys. It's been great to meet all of you that I haven't met before. And I'd like to come on again, Eugene, and dig deeper into the finances whenever you want me. It's been fun. And yeah, you can. As far as tomorrow night or Saturday night, I think it's going to be 2-0. I'm going to share Guguma's positivity. I think we keep a clean sheet. I think Brighton are going to be vulnerable since they sold their best centre back in. What's the guy's name? I forget his name now.
Ben White.
Newcastle. Who was it?
Oh, Newcastle. Dan Burns. Huh? Dunk.
Dan Burns.
Dan Burns.
Dan Burns. Sorry, that's
Dan
it.
Burns.
Yeah. So I think they're going to be vulnerable. They didn't replace him, so I think we're going to have it might be a tough first half, but a comfortable second half where we win and go through to the fifth round. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's been good.
Mr. K, are you there, Mr. K?
He's on mute.
Is he there?
Somehow I always seem to leave myself on mute there. Right. On form, Brighton's got the better possession tactic. In terms of what they can do in terms of holding the ball, retaining it, moving it around. We seem to be terrible at that compared to other teams, and they seem to be much better against teams that we're useless at. Like, for example, they're better possession than Chelsea are. So I reckon them playing on their home ground, they have lost less games than us. They've conceded less than us. And they're only, I think, 1 or 2 goals away in terms of how many goals they've scored compared to us. So I think we're going to go into their home ground. My brain tells me that
we're at home.
We're at home.
We're at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
In that case, I'm going to change my score prediction now because I was going to say 2-0 we're going to lose. But instead, because we're playing at home, right? Yeah. I reckon we're going to beat them 4-1.
Isn't it away? I was almost.
I thought it was away.
We're playing home.
Almost positive it was away.
I was going to take my nephew Shane, but it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so I can't go.
Yeah. And Mr. K, where can we find you?
Basically, you can find me on Will Stewart's THFC Rants channel. I do a show on 11 o'clock on Tuesday nights, 11 to 2. Just a little bit of a relaxed, chill sort of session, if we can possibly make it so, without talking too much about, we don't like to argue. We don't like to debate too much if possible. More relaxing. But I tell you what, forget my show. I really want to plug a show that's happening tonight, straight after Southside. So as soon as Johnny's show finishes, there's a show that's starting at 8:30 on Tottenham on tour. And they're talking about a mental health episode. So this is a second mental health episode. One happened last year, was an amazing success. And we've got another mental health show that's on tonight at 8:30 on Tottenham on tour. This is really important for those people out there that have got loved ones or that have gone through the this particular pandemic, and it's like, you're suffering and have suffered, and anxieties that have been created by life's ills and so forth. So if you have got yourself or people around you that have had difficulty, then definitely pop into the show, because I think there's going to be at least one specialist that's going to be there, and the rest of it is going to be us sharing our stories with everyone, and hopefully trying to connect with one another, other than all this levy out and levy in and all that type of stuff. Forget the politics. At the end of the day, we're all fans, and some of us are hurting. So let's get together and support one another. Yeah. Come on, you Spurs. 4-1. Smash them.
Yeah. And of course, guys, since I'm without Jamie here, I'll just keep you guys with me while I go through the chats and say big up to all the guys who are in the comments and all that, like Derek Hutchinson, Ellie, Jamie's in the chats, right? Alexander Hilton, the Nana Steak song, right? You have to record it and let us know how the tune goes, and we'll put it out there, right? And Alexander Hilton says it's 3-0. Big up to Eng Hua, Chris Agamba, right? Google Mas in the chats too. And of course, don't forget the magnificent Cody Mack. Yeah, and Rez.
I do love the apology.
Rez, right? Prithvi, right? Mr. Case in the chats too. Right, Mark Cousins 302. Right, everyone's having a good time. I think we will beat Brighton, but it might be tight, right? But I'm gonna go for the Bob Spurs score 4-1 Spurs, right? And of course, who else do we have? Nick's in the chats. John Fitzpatrick, right?
Ellie.
Sean, Sean, yep, Sean is here. Sean is here with
Ellie's
us.
in there as well.
Yep, Ellie, Cody Mack, Mark Cousins, Tony K. Tony K's from Korea, right? Google Ma.
Yeah, I saw him in the chat.
Yeah, Tony K's in the chats too. Yeah. 안녕하세요, Tony K, right? Tony K, right? Who else do we have? Have we missed anyone? Alexander Hilton, John Fitzpatrick, Ryan McFarlane. Big up to Ryan McFarlane, right? And of course, don't forget Tom from what's his channel called now? The Manchester United fan that always
the United Stand. No, I think he just appears and plug.
Tom that always jumps on to our shows, and especially to and of course, don't forget Bob Spur. Big up, Bobby. Yeah,
better soon, Brody.
Yeah, I'm gonna see you soon, right? Recover quickly. We're missing you, right? We need
From
another
bedside with love.
Yeah, we need another voice. And of course, don't forget Graham, right?
Hey, Graham.
Yeah, Footy Life. Yes, Footy Life. His channel is Footy Life. And of course, Wayne Bonner. Big up, Wayne.
Easy, Wayne.
Wayne Bonner. Yeah. Right, guys. And of course, don't forget Kuva. Yeah, Kuva. Yeah.
I missed his stream earlier. I was asleep.
Yeah, I was preparing. And K Bean. I think K Bean is Ben, if I'm not mistaken. Right, coffee.
I'll tell you later.
All right, guys.
Yeah, Gagumi said it's Mr. K.
yeah. That's why Kuguma says Mr. K's new channel.
It's his better account.
It's okay. That's just for when I go into non-Spurs related sort of content. Like I'm
that's
a bit
you,
more
right?
relaxed. Yeah, that's Coffee Bean.
Is it you?
It's Coffee Bean.
No, is it you?
It's got K Bean. Come on, geezer, work it out. Of course it's me.
And Guguma is right. Oh dear, Guguma is right. All right, guys, just hang on for a while I do the outro, and we'll have a short chat in the back room. All right, guys, thanks for being on. And of course, what I always say last, leave you out.
Love you out.